Okay, welcome back. And for part 2, we are going to talk about the rest of what's in D2L. So after your syllabus, you'll find your EdTPA timeline. This should be what you were given by your supervisor, but this is the suggested timeline for spring 2018 for submission of your secondary science EdTPA. So this is the timeline that I was talking about for the 20% of your grade regarding EdTPA. Is simply just going through and making sure that you're abiding by this timeline as closely as possible. So you can go through here and see and plan accordingly for what you need to be doing when. Okay, and we will do periodic checks in class to make sure that you are where you need to be with this material. Okay, so if you go back to the EdTPA timeline, there's a resources tab here, and this is part of EdTPA. To be able to get up into the higher rubric scores, you need to be able to cite research and theory. And so one of the easier places to do that is with educational theory. And so this is a graphic organizer of the different educational theories and learning theories and learning theorists. And if you click any of these links, okay, so let's talk about experiential learning and lab. Okay, so knowledge is continuously gained through both personal and environmental experiences. Learner must be able to reflect on the experience, use analytical skills. Okay, well, the person who talked about, whose theory really is experiential learning is Kolb. And so you can click here and you can find Kolb, and you can also find experiential learning. And so what you'll want to do is go through here and find the specific citation. So do not cite Wikipedia. However, Wikipedia will have the specific reference that you need to cite for your EdTPA. Okay, so that's one of the resources there. All right, so that's the EdTPA timeline. If we go back to table of contents, we go to your assignments tab. All right, within your assignments tab have all of your assignments and rubrics for the semester in PCK 3. Okay, so the first one up is going to be your lesson plan. Okay, and so this is your lesson plan template. It's a little less cumbersome than what you had last semester. A lot of the parts and pieces look similar. But you don't have to go into as much detail as what you did last semester. So the new piece that you really need to focus on is down here, the analysis of your teaching. So this one needs to be done after the lesson has been taught. All of this stuff should be done before because it's a lesson plan. So it should be future tense, right? Learner will. Okay, so what you need to focus on is what worked, what didn't, for whom did it work, for whom didn't it work. Interpret the extent to which your students achieved each objective using results from the assessments you designed and listed above. Okay, so you need to provide evidence to support your claim that students either learned or did not learn, or some objectives they mastered, some objectives they didn't. But you need to use evidence from your assessment to determine and describe what changes you could make to improve this lesson. And moving forward, how can you continue to support your students in achieving these objectives? You also need to attach each assessment and associated answer key or rubric, okay? So make sure that those resources are attached when, or also uploaded into D2L, okay? And your technology lesson plan is a D2L upload, okay? Here is the description of that assignment. So you will implement your lesson plan in your class. So this one, students need to use appropriate technology to collect, interpret, and evaluate data or information. and communicate their findings. So required evidence to submit, complete comprehensive lesson plan, assessment, instructional materials, and completed analysis of teaching section for your lesson plan. And this is the rubric for that assessment. So I will have a discussion board on here for you guys to post any questions you have in regards to any of the assignments or anything covered in these videos. Okay, so next assignment is going to be your unit assessment analysis. So this was the part that I was describing. That's part of your lesson plan, but we're going to be looking at your assessments within a unit. Okay, so this is to give you the opportunity to tie together the assessment process to determine the effect of instruction on all your students' learning, guide decisions about future instruction, and communicate performance results to others. All right, so here you need to provide a unit overview. So summarize the main concepts of the unit, the enduring understandings that you seek to help students learn, and list your instructional objectives and or your guiding questions for the unit. So this is different from EdTPA where that's a unit segment. So that's just 3 or so lessons. This should be a complete unit. So let's say your molecular biology unit or your types of reactions unit. Okay. All right. So within this, you need to analyze and report the data. So you need to compile the data for one class as a whole group and use descriptive statistics. So mean, median, mode, standard deviation. Do not reference students by name. In this data table, compare results of pre-assessment, formative assessments, and summative assessment as a whole assessment, and additionally for at least 3 specific objectives. Okay, so you, in your table of your learning objectives, you should have, for your unit, you should have which assessments and specifically what questions on that assessment assess that specific learning objective. And so when you're looking at 3 specific objectives, you're going to be looking specifically at those questions that assess that objective to see how well students perform. You want to provide graphics to display your data in the most efficient manner and tell the story and be true to the data. Okay? Analyze the question level data using the difficulty and discrimination indices and determine questions where you should do distractor analysis. So we will have a whole day in class where we talk about all of this type of data analysis. So if some of these words are not familiar to you as of yet, don't worry about it. We'll get more into the details, and hopefully by the end of the semester, you will be more familiar with this. But essentially, all of the prompts that you need to address are within this. What you need to do at this point is figure out which unit you're going to choose to do this assignment on. So pick a unit where you have a pre-assessment. If you don't have a pre-assessment, that will be the topic of discussion next, on the 23rd or the 22nd. And so if you don't have a unit pre-assessment, then you need to think about getting a unit pre-assessment. So figure out a unit that, where you have pre-formative and a solid summative assessment to do this analysis on. Let's see. So in your assignments, you also have your nature of science assessment, reflection, and rubric. So this one, you will choose a nature of science assessment, administer it to students pre-post instruction, analyze the results, and reflect on the implications. So it's not too horribly challenging. That's the rubric for it, and also what your score would be based on the points you obtain from the rubric. Okay. Professional events. All right, so This is the one where you need to do something relative to content knowledge to develop your own content knowledge. So for one science content experience and one science education experience, you will write a reflection on the extent to which the experience has informed your understanding of science, of teaching, and of meeting the needs of learners. Okay, so science education would be one where you're learning how to do something to better teach the content. A science content would be something specific to the content itself. So learning a new laboratory technique or doing scientific research or something to that extent. Okay? You can go to seminars, you can go to conferences. These are all different examples. If you have a question about whether or not one of your experiences fits into a category, please let one of us know and we will let you know whether or not it counts. That needs to be uploaded to, so your professionalism assignment needs to be uploaded to Chalk and Wire. That's a Chalk and Wire assignment. I will post different events in here for you to go to if you want that will fulfill your professional knowledge assignments. And then finally, your critical incident report. Dr. Diaz will give you more details on this, but here's an example of what we're looking for your critical incident reflection. So you can read through this, but the big gist of this is for your practice one, which is due first. That one, you need to look at a video from the fall or one from early in the semester, and you need to really analyze and go through these specific questions in your analysis. And here's an example of what that would look like. One of the things that's missing from the directions in this example is that you do need to reference the specific time point, your timestamp in your video of your reflection. So whatever you are talking about or reflecting on in your paper, you need to reference that specific timestamp in your paper. That's the big difference between what we're expecting and this example. And we provided 2 specific examples for you. All right, so those are the big assignments in this class. Different resources we'll go through here throughout the semester, but these are just general resources that you can go use or look at throughout the semester if you want to learn more. All right, so for this week, we want you to do is really kind of get a sense of where you are in terms of assessment. So you have a to-do list. So the first thing on your homework is you need to talk with your CT about different standardized tests that you should be aware of as a new teacher. So once you get this list, you need to choose one of the tests and do research to determine what it measures, how it measures it. Essentially answer these questions and then post this to the discussion board. Just click here and it will take you directly to the discussion board. And then you have 2 things that you need to look at. Or also in talking with your CT, you need to plan out the rest of the semester. So speak with your CT to determine the plan for the remainder of the school year. So determine what units will be taught, when, and determine which unit you should focus your EdTPA on and which unit or lessons you could utilize for your other assignments in this class that I just talked about. And then finally, go ahead and finish this checkbox with your views of assessment. So you need to look through this assessment scenarios, and in each scenario discussion board, write a brief explanation of which option you would choose and why. And then this is the only one where you need to post to 2 other people's posts. And then finally, complete this needs assessment. It will help me and Dr. Diaz and Jay figure out what we need to cover for the rest of the semester. And with that, I hope you have a great next 2 weeks, and I'll see you soon. Bye.